What's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and coming up on today's show, 5 blockbuster trade targets for your Minnesota Vikings. After the 2-1 start, the Vikings can rip off some wins here across the pond. Maybe they try to get super aggressive at the deadline, and they have the ammunition to do so. The Vikings stockpiled 2026 draft picks this past offseason. Trading Harrison Phillips away, trading a Mekhi Blackman away. They clearly wanted to add more draft capital in 2026, and they did that. They got 11 picks total, and you also got some cap space, $15.57 million. There's always ways to create more. You can, restructure contracts. There's a way to get that number up if you really are trying to go out all out and bring a guy in. But before we dive into it, if you guys could, make sure you guys are subscribed today. We got a little sub battle going on with our Steelers Talk channel. Now, we originally had this as a race to 100 subscribers, but both fan bases crushed it. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, maybe we'll change this to race to 500 subs. So if you guys want to help us beat Steelers Talk, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button today. Don't miss a thing around your Minnesota Vikings. All right, very clear here, and I probably don't need to say this, but the Vikings will only get aggressive at the trade deadline if they win the next 2 weeks. Like, that is the only possible scenario. Like, if they go 1-1, they're 3-2. Now, maybe obviously if they beat the Eagles week 7, then maybe they could get back being aggressive. But I think the only way the Vikings really pick up the phone and start calling other teams heading into the trade deadline would be if they win the next 2 weeks. Now, there are a couple of position groups where I don't think the Vikings would trade for them whatsoever. And number one, obviously, being wide receiver. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got a ton of depth there now. So I don't think they would trade for a wideout. Edge rusher as well. You got 3 edge rushers that are all fighting to get out there on the field, so they wouldn't do that. Same with offensive line. Now, maybe if they had a major injury, they would trade for an offensive lineman, but I think that's unlikely. Then also the tight end position, Hawk, Oliver, you like what you have there. But besides that, all the other position groups could use an upgrade. And we're going to start off with the defensive line here and talk about Dexter Lawrence. Now, I know what you might be saying. Patrick, we're all good at defensive tackle. We don't need somebody else. I hear you. I agree with you. But also, the Vikings obviously don't need a defensive tackle. But Lawrence would take this group to another level. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in football. He just straight up is that. I mean, honestly, all Vikings fans, you want to go see how good Dexter Lawrence is, just go turn on the tape from the 2022 wildcard game. This guy absolutely dominated Garrett Bradbury in that matchup. And I think if you would bring in Dexter Lawrence, that would give the Vikings the best defense in the NFL by far. I already think they are the best defense in the league, but could you imagine if they added Dexter Lawrence to the interior of that defensive line, where you would have Dexter Lawrence, Hargrave and Allen, Van Ginkel and Grenard? That's absolutely insane. That's one of the best front fives that you could possibly have in NFL history. So there's no doubt about that, but the problem with this is I still don't believe the Giants would be willing to trade him away. I think the only way the Giants would want to move off Dexter Lawrence is if, like, a team sends them a Godfather offer and they're like, all right, clearly we're not winning a lot of games this year. Let's maybe do right by Dexter Lawrence, send him to a very good franchise, a good organization that's trying to compete for a Super Bowl. And also, I'm sure every player defensively, if their team's GM, called them, was like, hey, man, we're trading you. And they're like, oh, man, where am I going? And they say Minnesota, and you get to go play with Brian Flores and that unit. I'm sure every defensive player would be thrilled to come to the Vikings. But what would it take? Maybe a first and a third. But even I don't even think that's enough. Now, maybe you include like a Hargrave or an Allen and a first, and maybe that gets it done. Or maybe you include Dallas Turner and a first-round pick for Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if I would do that. But again, I just don't know if a first-round pick and a third-round pick gets it done. But if the Giants would ever say yes to that, you do that trade in a heartbeat, because this guy's just unbelievable. And honestly, like, the raw numbers for him doesn't really speak to how good he is. Like, you see the sack number, it's nothing crazy there, but this guy is just one of the best run defenders in the entire league. He 2 gaps at a high level. He gets pressure from the interior, and truly one of the most fun players to watch in the league. So he's a trade target number 1 for me. And even his PFF grades this year, when he's Giants fans would honestly say he hasn't been great this season, but he's graded out very well. Like 81.2 overall, 10th in the league, pass rush, top 13, run defense, not great, but still solid for a down year. So he would be number 1 incredibly unlikely. But a guy who I think would have a chance, that's Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin Kamara, I think he's going to get traded this season. I do have my doubts if it is to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, the only way I think the Vikings pick up the phone here is if the Aaron Jones injury is incredibly serious. And the Vikings are just saying, hey, we want to be more of a run-first team. We got to get some more talent in that backfield. And, do we want Jordan Mason ripping off 20, 25 carries a game? Not necessarily. Where you could bring in Alvin Kamara, where Kamara at this point is just a better version of Aaron Jones. Tremendous pass catcher. Follows his blocks really well. Just still a stud and a playmaker with the ball in his hands. So if the Aaron Jones injury is serious, yeah, 100%. I would call the Saints about AK. Now, the problem with AK is his contract. It's incredibly complicated. The Saints have restructured this. I mean, it feels like almost 10 times over the last couple of years. So I don't know how much money the Vikings would be taking on, but here is just his base salary number, $9.7 million this year, $18.63 the following year. But again, if you trade for him, you could probably cut him. That wouldn't be the cap hit. Obviously, if the Vikings traded for him, but that's just a base number there. And, this guy, he's been awesome. Great dual threat running back. It's actually hilarious. He has never crossed over 1,000 yards in his career in terms of on the ground, which is just unreal. You'd think Kamara would have 5 seasons of 1,000-plus rushing yards, but obviously a great pass catcher. Over 500 yards through the air this past season in 14 games. So I would be in on a Kamara trade, but again, that's only if the Aaron Jones injury is serious. But you guys let me know. What would you do? Would you trade for Alvin Kamara? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. Now, obviously, I will say the Saints, I think they're going to be a fire sale this year. They have to at least eventually. And Kamara could be on the trade block. So you guys let me know your thoughts if you guys would trade for Kamara. All right, number 3 here. We're going to talk about Denzel Ward, cornerback of the Cleveland Browns. Another trade, which is probably pretty unlikely, but the Cleveland Browns, 1-2 start. They lose their next couple of games, which they will lose to the Vikings in Week 5. Maybe they could be trying to have a little fire sale there. But, Denzel Ward, he's still one of the better corners in the league. And, PFF grades aren't really too good for him. But, over the past couple of years, this guy has been one of the best cover corners, a freak athlete. Would be kind of cool to pair him up with Jeff Okudah, get the Ohio State corners in there. But, obviously the PFF grades aren't great, but this guy's a hell of a football player. And I think he would be a great scheme fit with Brian Flores. He can get up, run some press man. He can do a lot of different things. And I'll tell you what, if you would add Denzel Ward to this Vikings cornerback room, you're taking it to another level. Then you would have Murphy, Ward, and Isaiah Rodgers, and then Okudah and McLaughlin are just rotational guys. That would be pretty awesome. Now, you could also include a guy like Greg Newsome from the Browns on here, which I think Newsome would be a more likely trade target. As he could just hop in the slot, and he's just a more versatile player than Ward. But obviously Ward has more talent. And, when you're talking about trades defensively for the Vikings, you're really just looking for icing on the cake moves. Because, honestly, I can make an argument. You're looking for sprinkles on top. You're looking for the cherry on top. Because you already have the base. You already have the cake. You're just looking to kind of make those moves to get you over the top. Where it's like, okay, right now I think the Vikings have the best defense in the league. Okay, let's make a move to make them the best defense of the past decade. Let's try to make a move to make them one of the best defenses of all time. Those are the types of moves the Vikings are, trying to pull off right now if you are trying to get a trade defensively. But speaking about this game coming up, if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Steelers, hit that thumbs up icon down below. 3-1 on the table for this football team. So if you guys could like today's show, let's see if we can get up to 500 likes. So if you guys could hit that thumbs up icon. Now, we'll talk about 2 more trade targets here in a second, but today's episode of Vikings Now is brought to you guys by Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And Prize Picks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you guys get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. They also put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They also offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So if you guys could, download the Prize Picks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about a player that I would absolutely love to trade for. Budda Baker, the safety for the Arizona Cardinals. This guy, first off, is one of my favorite players in the league. This guy plays all over, man. Extremely versatile safety. You can put him in the deep half. You can put him in the box. And I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic when I say this. He would be one of the best safeties in the league under Flores. Like, he would take a Kyle Hamilton S-jump because this guy's already top 10, one of the best defensive players in the league. And honestly, I feel like he doesn't get the attention he deserves because he's playing for the Cardinals in Arizona. But this guy deserves a lot of love, and if you would put him with Flores and the rest of those guys defensively, he would be a problem. And also, obviously, you would improve your defense this year, but this could maybe be your Harrison Smith replacement. Why not? Like, you're probably going to have to draft a safety either this draft or the next draft, so why not just use one of those draft picks that you're going to spend on a safety on a proven commodity in Budda Baker? But if I had one dream trade target, it would be tough for me to decide between Budda Baker and Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is, a better player, more valuable player, but something about those safeties in Flores' system that I would absolutely love to see. And you would have him under contract until 2027, which is another advantage. So you'd obviously get the rest of this year. You get 26, you get 27, and even, Budda Baker's getting paid a lot of money. He is worth that. Like, you think about it, Cam Bynum's getting $15 million a year. I'd probably say Budda Baker is, $5 million more valuable on a per-year basis than Cam Bynum. So Budda Baker, if you could somehow, wear that purple and gold this season, sign me up. But, again, a lot of that would have to do with the Cardinals, losing the next couple of games. And obviously the Vikings getting hot. But most of these trade targets are unlikely, but you never know. Budda Baker would be a fantastic pickup. And another guy I would love defensively here, Demario Davis of the New Orleans Saints. Demario Davis is still playing some great football. I'm not going to lie. I have not been watching a lot of Saints football this past season, and I was just checking out how Demario Davis was playing, and he's having a great year. And he's been great for the last 4 seasons. Like, he is one of the best tacklers in the league. He's got great instincts. He can stop the run at a very high level. He can defend the pass. And, what I was so shocked about, this guy's a 3rd-graded linebacker in the league, according to PFF. He's got a 90.4 overall grade. He's got the best run defense grade in the entire league at 92.8. Now, understand, like obviously the Vikings don't have a need for a linebacker, but Demario Davis and Blake Cashman, that's one of the best duos you could have. And then you just got Ivan Pace kind of being that Swiss Army knife where you don't, force him to play almost every single early down. I like the idea of Demario Davis. It also probably wouldn't cost as much as like a Budda Baker, Dexter Lawrence. So I guess if I had to, name one guy for the Vikings to trade for, including price and what you would have to give up, I think for me it would be Demario Davis. Then I'd probably go Budda Baker, and then like Dexter Lawrence, best player out of all those guys, but it would just cost a lot to trade for him. But yeah, I would go Demario Davis. But you guys, let me know your thoughts down below, and appreciate all of you guys for taking time out of your day to watch today's show. See you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.